Hi, my name is Tom Morgan. I'm a Microsoft MVP and I spend a lot of time talking and doing development on Microsoft Teams and on the Microsoft Teams development platform. Microsoft have just released what they're calling app templates for Microsoft Teams. And I've got a blog post all about what they are and how you can use them, but I want to show you exactly what they can do and exactly how you can use them even if you're not a developer. So I'm going to go through the process of how to install one of the templates, one of the solutions that they've provided. And I'm going to do it kind of unedited. If we hit any problems, we'll work them out along the way, but I want you to see exactly what I would do to deploy one of these. So this is the app templates page on the Microsoft documentation. If I scroll down, I can see there's a couple of different ones. There's a custom stickers one and there's an icebreaker one. I'm going to go with the icebreaker one. We're going to deploy this one today. Okay, so we've got some interesting kind of information about the icebreaker app. We've got a nice screenshot and then it says get it on GitHub here. Now, if you're not a developer, I don't want you to freak out at this point. Okay, GitHub is nothing more than just a place to store stuff. Mostly that stuff is code, but it absolutely doesn't have to be. Let's open up this link here and see where it takes us. All right, so once this loads, what we'll see is, you've probably seen this sort of page before. It's a standard GitHub project page. And you can see all the files here, but if we scroll down, there's a nice thing that happens in GitHub is there's a kind of convention around creating a README file. And if you do that, GitHub will show you the README file on the front page. So if we scroll down, actually we can see lots of good information about what this app does and links to documentation, deployment guide, and architecture. So that's super useful. And that's one of the really important things about these app templates. They come with lots of really good documentation. I'm going to open up the deployment guide. And this is the guide that we're going to follow through, which we're going to use to kind of get started. So it's nice that there's a whole deployment guide. And so let's start with step one. So we can see at the top with prerequisites, actually before we even start, we've got all the things we need. We need an Azure subscription and we have the copy of the Icebreaker GitHub repo. That's what this is here basically. We're going to come back to it a bit in a minute. So before we even start, I'm going to create a resource in Azure. Now I don't have to do this. Actually, it does get covered slightly further on down this deployment guide. It's just a thing I like to do. If I'm deploying stuff into Azure, I like to kind of segregate it, and I like to start off by creating a new resource group. All right, so this is my Azure portal, logged in as me, so I can go and click create a resource, and that was entirely the wrong thing to do. What I want to do is create a resource group. Now, I think you probably can do it from here, but it's going to take forever. What I'm going to do instead is go to resource groups, and list all the resource groups that I've got. And then there's a nice big add button in a minute, hopefully when this loads. Yep, nice big add button so I can add a new resource group. And I'm just going to name it something. I'm going to call it Icebreaker. Now, before you click OK, just have a look at this region. Now, normally it wouldn't really matter. You could choose the region where you want to put your stuff, which makes the most sense for you geographically, or if there's governance rules about where your stuff lives. Now, I know, because I've read through this whole deployment guide, there is a section coming up where the region is quite important. It's down here somewhere and it talks about region-specific stuff. It says the resource group location must be in a data center that supports application insights. And there's a link to make sure that you're going to choose one that does. Now, if it matters to you where your resource group is, where your stuff gets deployed, then you should go and follow that link and make sure you pick a data center that's right for you. Or what you can do is what I do is to cheat a little bit and say, well, actually, it doesn't really matter where I'm going to put this because I'm just trying it out. So looking at this screenshot, I can see that the people who ran this and who wrote this guide created theirs in West US 2. So West US 2 must work, right? So if I create my resource group in West US 2, that gives me the greatest chance of success. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to create my resource group there. And in a minute, hopefully, it says resource group created. So I can go to that resource group and I guess it's going to be empty because I've just created it. So that gives me a nice container to start putting stuff in. So let's go back to this deployment guide and let's go back to the top and we're going to start properly. So step one, Register a Microsoft Azure AD application. Okay, register one multi-tenant Azure AD application with one secret. Okay, well, if you don't know what any of that means, don't worry, because it's going to tell us exactly what we need. Oh dear, throw my pens everywhere. Right, it's going to tell us exactly what to do. So if I get excited, I start waving my hands around a little bit and stuff goes flying. So step one, log into the Azure portal and go to the app registrations blade. Well, I'm actually just going to take this link. I'm going to take it and let's have a look. I'm going to go, let's go and create a new tab and paste that in and see where it takes us. Okay, so it's going to drop us into the portal and hopefully into just the right place. Wait for it to load. So I'm deliberately not editing any of this stuff, so you're going to have to wait for the loads. Just because I want to make you confident that all I'm doing, like everything you're seeing in the video is everything you need to do. I'm not like doing any magic steps and editing them or anything like that. All right, so this is my list of app registrations. I've only got one and it's called test. So let's go back to the deployment guide and it says click on new registration and create an Azure AD application. Give it a name. Supported type should be accounts in any organizational directory and leave the redirect URI field blank. Okay, so new registration. Going to give it a good name. Let's call it Icebreaker. We'll choose accounts in any organizational directory and we'll leave the redirect URI blank. Quick check of this screenshot. We're doing this one and not that one. Yep, so we'll click register. Back to the deployment guide. When the app is registered, you'll be taken to the overview page. Copy the application client ID and verify that supported account types is set to multiple organizations. Okay, so here we are. This is the overview page. We need to take a copy of this application client ID. So if you hover over any of these GUIDs, the little clipboard icon comes up. So I'm just going to open Notepad and let's just paste in our app ID. Cool. And verify that supported account types was multiple organizations. Okay, great. On the side rail, go to certificates and secrets and click on new secret. Add a description and for the expires, choose never, click add. Okay, so go to certificates and secrets. Click on new client secret. Give it a nice name. We'll choose never for the expires. Now that might not be right for you. You can change and choose your own thing. Okay, when we do that, it's going to generate a secret for us. That's a kind of, you can see the value there on the screen, this secret that it's created. Now, it's really important that we copy this secret now. Azure won't show us this secret again for kind of security reasons, right? So we'll take a copy of it now because we know we're going to need it later. And I'm going to put it in this notepad file as well. Okay, back to the deployment guide. Copy its value. At this point, you have two unique values, one application ID, one client secret. Yes, we have one application ID, one client secret. So far, so good, right? So step 2, deploy to your Azure subscription. Click on the deploy to Azure button below. Okay, cool. Right, I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to come over to my Azure subscription, which is here with its empty resource group. And I'm just going to paste in that link. And what it's going to do, hopefully, if I pasted it correctly and it loads, which I'm not sure happened. Oh no, yeah, it did, sorry. Okay, it's going to load up this deployment template. So the thing we clicked on is it's called an ARM template and a kind of template deployment. Think of it like a set of steps, like a recipe, but it's the things that, rather than cooking food, what you're doing is creating resources in Azure. So the Icebreaker team, the people who wrote the Icebreaker application, have put together a bunch of things that need to get created in your Azure, and they've wrapped it all up in this nice template. So all you have to do is load up this page and say, okay. Now, when they create those resources, they need some information. So there are some things that now they need to ask you and you need to provide, which is what this page is all about before they go and start doing all that stuff. So if you look at this page, you can see it's got a bunch of sort of text boxes, a bunch of information. Most of them are filled in, some are not, and some are required, like this bot app ID and bot app password. And there's a bunch of other stuff that's already pre-filled with defaults. So let's come back to our deployment guide. We've got a screenshot that looks kind of really similar to the thing we've just seen. What we need to do though is choose a subscription and a resource group, and then fill in various IDs, the bot app ID and the bot app password. Okay, so let's come back to ours and let's have a look. So we need to choose a resource group. So this is where I could create a new resource group if I hadn't already, but I did create one and I called it Icebreaker. So let's go and find that. This is where this location comes in handy because now we're in the right location. And bot app ID and bot app password, well, we have those stored in our notepad file. So let me take the app ID and the secret, the password. They kind of use the words secret and password interchangeably. Now, just looking at some of these, we can change them and I think they would be fine. It's interesting. So Pacific Standard Time is not my default time zone. And so do I really want Icebreaker to be pairing people at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time? Well, I don't know because I can't really work out what time Pacific Standard Time would be. It's kind of around 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, I think. It's not a great time. You know, it's off work hours, so it's not ideal. So actually what I'd want to do is change this time zone to something like GMT. Now, looking at this is not a drop down. This is a free text field. So actually, I'm not super confident I want to change this because I don't think I'll spell the new time zone correctly. Perhaps it's GMT, perhaps it's Greenwich Mean Time, perhaps it's something completely different. I'm going to leave it for now and I'm going to show you in a minute where you can change it if you want to. Okay, so we've filled in those bits and we need to agree to the Azure terms and conditions and click purchase. Okay, so one of the strange things about Azure templates, well, I think they're strange, is it's kind of designed for third parties who are adding products and services into Azure. And that's where ARM templates get used a lot. And for that reason, the button they use to go and create assets in Azure is called purchase. Now, purchase doesn't really sort of make any sense here. You're not buying anything. You're not really spending any money. Okay, yeah, I get you're probably going to be using Azure resource and that's going to have some cost. But this is a kind of confusing button. Don't worry, there is no money that actually changes hands when you click this button. So I'm going to click purchase. It's going to go through a validation step. Hopefully we've done everything right. It says validation successful, great. And then it takes us back to the home page and we see a deployment in progress. And if you look up here at the notification bar, the little bell, we can see it says deployment in process. Now this is going to take kind of 5-10 minutes. So we need to just kind of hang fire and wait for this to happen. I am going to pause the video at this point because I'm literally going to do nothing. Nothing is going to happen at this point until that deployment has succeeded. So I shall pause it now and I'll unpause it as soon as the deployment succeeds. Okay, well the deployment has finished. You can see that here. This is flipped over to say deployment succeeded. So if I now go to the resource group, we can see exactly what's been deployed. So that previously empty resource group hopefully now has some stuff in it. Let's have a look. And yeah, we can see a bunch of different things that have been created. So let's go back to the deployment guide to find out what to do next. So once completed, navigate to the app service. It should be of type microsoft.web/sites with a name similar to Icebreaker, something. Copy its URL. Okay, so what we need to do is go back to Azure, find the app service. Okay, and if we click into the app service, then hopefully, Azure seems to be a little slow today. Maybe it's Azure, maybe it's my connection, I'm not sure. But let's wait for this to load and we'll see what it says. Hopefully. Okay, so we can see a URL across the top here. So I'm going to copy this URL. Okay, and I'm just going to pop it in that notepad Let's go back to the deployment guide and find out what we need to do. Copy its URL. Yep, fine, good. So we've done that bit. And so that's all step 2 done. Step 3, create the Teams app package. So we need to open, now, what's this talking about? Open the manifest JSON file in a text editor. What does that mean? Okay, so let's come all the way back to this page. So this is where the code is. Now, quite a lot of this code we don't actually need because we've just deployed it ourselves into Azure. But some bits we do need. Specifically, we need the Teams manifest file. A manifest file is just a descriptive file that tells the Teams application what our app looks like, what it's called, what bits and capabilities it has, and all the rest of it. Now, there's actually, I think, 3 values you need, and they all live in this manifest folder here. And so if I go into the manifest folder, you can see three files. Now, I could download each of these files individually by kind of clicking on them and going download. What I'm going to do, I think, because it's probably slightly quicker, is to download the whole thing and then just use the bits I need. So over here where it says clone or download, now I know this is GitHub people, developers who understand GitHub, this is not the best way to use GitHub, and I get it, but this is achieving what we need to do right now. So what I'm going to do is click download zip. So I'm not going to do any cloning or anything like that. I'm going to click download zip, and it's going to give me a zip file. Nice and simple. So that's downloading now. So let me show you that in a folder so you can see it. And let's find where that's gone. And okay, so all right, so let me bring that over here and let me just unzip it for you so you can see what's in it. And if we go in here again, what we'll see are the same files that we see listed in GitHub: deployment manifest source, some attribute files, a license, and a README. Now, we only really care about this manifest file in here. Okay, these 3 things are what we are going to use to create our Teams application. So, coming back to the deployment guide, now it makes more sense when it says open the manifest/manifest.json file in a text editor. We're talking about this file. We're in the manifest/manifest.json file. So let's open this in something like Notepad++, or it could be regular Notepad. Use whatever you want to use, whatever makes you happy. And oh, I've opened it in the wrong screen, so let me just bring it over here. Okay, so you can see a massive, big long file happening here. So lots of kind of things, but what do we do next? Well, let's go back to our deployment guide then. To figure out what it is we need to do next. So it says change the placeholder fields in the manifest to values appropriate for your organization. We've got developer.name, website URL, privacy URL, terms of use. Okay, so because I'm just kind of messing around with this, I know I need to put some stuff in, but I'm not going to worry too much about what it is. So developer name, I'm just going to put thought stuff. So website URL. Now, this needs to be an HTTPS website. Okay, so it needs to start HTTPS. So I'm going to put the thought stuff URL in there. I also need a privacy URL, so where my privacy policy is. So I have a generic one that lives here, and the same for my terms of service. Okay, so if you don't have any of these, you can use these if you want as placeholders for now. You'll need to do something if you want to take it into production, or if you want to modify it and roll it out in your organization, you probably want to use ones that are specific to your organization. Okay, so we've done those 3 things. Step 3, change the bot ID placeholder to your Azure AD Applications ID from above. This is the same good that you entered in the template. Good. Well, in that case, I've got that here, so let me take that app ID. Let me go back over here, and yeah, if you look, there's a section right here under bots where it says bot ID, and there's the placeholder. So let me paste that in. Okay, what next? Section 4, or step 4. In the valid domain section, replace the placeholder of your app services domain. This is your app service URL without the HTTPS. Okay, so come back over here. This is our URL. So we're going to take the domain part, which is right here. Come back over to this manifest file, And if you look down right at the bottom, there's a valid domain section. I should have done this before already. Zoom in a little bit. Valid domains, and you can see the app domain here. So let me just paste all of that in. So save that file and come back. And then it says create a zip package with manifest.json, color.png and outline.png. The 2-inch files are the icons for your app in Teams. Okay, well, we can do that. And so let's come up here. Let's take these 3 files and let's send to a zip file, and let's just call it icebreaker.zip. Your icon will probably look different. For some reason, VLC has stolen all my zip extensions. Step 4, run the app in Microsoft Teams. If your tenant has side loading, you can install your app to a team by following the instructions below. Okay, so this is where you find out if you don't know whether you have side loading enabled or not. This is how you find out. So this is Teams. This is me logged in as me. So because I know how Icebreaker works, I'm going to do one additional step before I do this, which is to create a new team. Now, you don't have to do this. You can put Icebreaker into an existing team. It's entirely up to you. I am going to create a brand new team for this, and I'm going to put Icebreaker in that team. So I'm going to create a new team. I'm going to build it from scratch. It is public, let's say, and I'm just going to call it Icebreaker. And I won't invite anyone for now. We'll just have it created, and we'll skip this step. Okay, perfect. Nice new team that we can use. Now, I'm going to put the Icebreaker app inside. I'm going to install it into this team. So the way to do this with side loading is you go to apps, which is where the App Store lives. Hopefully you've already been to before and you've kind of seen. Hopefully that will load up in a second. There we go. And you can see all the different apps that you can have and you can install. This section here is what you're looking for, where it says upload a custom app. If you don't see that, you probably don't have side loading enabled. You need to go and find an administrator, plead with them nicely, or maybe go and create a developer tenant that you have more control over. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to click upload a custom app, and I can upload it for me or my teams, or I can upload it into the company store, which means that it shows up in here and then everybody can see it. I'm just going to do it for me for now. Okay, now this is where I need to go and find that zip file I just created. So this is the folder for it. So let's pop that in here. Okay, and at this point, when I upload this, Teams is going to validate my zip file. It's going to check that everything I put in that JSON file is correct. If there's any problems, this is when it'll tell me about them. So we'll wait for that step to happen. Okay, but all being well, this is what you should see. So this is now as if you went to the App Store and found an app and added it. This is now you adding it. You can start to see some interesting things. So you can see the description that was in several places. Actually, it was in the ARM template when you went to create it in Azure, but it's also in this manifest file. It's right here. Yeah, so this is what I mean about this file describing your application. All these things that are in here come about because of that. Okay, so I can choose to add this. And it is going to add it into Teams. And the other thing, right, so it's there. And it's just kind of, I can go to an about screen and see the kind of about, and I can see kind of no real activity happening here because we haven't really done anything. So what I'm going to do now is go to my newly created team of Icebreaker. What I want to do, I think, is add that application into that team. So I'm going to go to apps, more apps, and that's actually going to take me back to the App Store, which is probably not ideal actually. What I should have done, I think, is when I drop down the add list, I probably should have told it to put it into a specific team. So let's see if I can go through that process again without it hating me and see what it does. Now, it might say it's already there, but let's try it out. So this button here, that's what I really wanted, add to a team. So let's do that now. Select a channel to start using Icebreaker. So I know I've got a team called Icebreaker. So there it is. So I can do that, and I can say set up a bot. Okay. So Tom Morgan has added Icebreaker to the team. I don't really want to add a new message at this point. I'm just going to leave that as it is. Okay, so Tom Morgan has added Icebreaker to the team. What we've done to this point is we've created our application, we've deployed it in Azure, we've created it in Teams, we've added it to a specific team, and it's up and running. You saw that message just arrive from Icebreaker. We're done. At this point, we're completely done. Icebreaker is completely running in Microsoft Teams. I've just deployed it. It took 26 minutes if you don't count the time I was waiting for the Azure resource to do its thing. One more thing I will just show you is, let me bring this window over here. So this is in a web browser. I'm now signed in as a completely different user on the same domain. So if I just refresh this, I didn't need to do that really. What I want to do is just join the Icebreaker team so you can see what the experience is like for people coming into a team that has Icebreaker installed in it. Because what you might do is, now that you've got to this point and created the Icebreaker team and you know the bot's running, you might invite some of your co-workers to join as well, so you can kind of really see how Icebreaker works and how it can pair people up and how it can be kind of useful in that way. So let me just show you what that experience looks like. So if I join the Icebreaker team as this second user, in fact, let me just maximize this so you can see everything that's going on. So search teams, Icebreaker. Okay, and I'm just going to join that team. And so you can see now, if I go into this team and go into the General tab, I'll see obviously the nice message, but actually I don't even need to go into the team. If you look down here in the bottom right, Icebreaker has sent me a card. Yeah. So if I click on that, it will take me directly to the Icebreaker app. So bear in mind, this user, the second user, didn't install the application, has never seen the application before, but by virtue of joining the team that had the Icebreaker application, they've kind of been opted into this Icebreaker app, and they get a nice message about me adding this, them to the Icebreaker team, and being ready. They can take a tour, they can pause the matches, and they can just get going with Icebreakers. That's a really nice onboarding experience for users coming into that team who haven't necessarily heard of Icebreaker before, but you've told them about it. You've said, hey, there's this thing called Icebreaker. Join the Icebreaker team if you're interested. All right, that's how you install, that's how you deploy and install the Icebreaker app template from Microsoft Teams, completely free, completely open source. How you can do it with just an Azure subscription and access to your Teams application and your Teams environment. And you can do it all in under half an hour. I hope that's been useful. There's a blog post about it. You can follow me on Twitter as well. I'll put all the links and kind of stuff at the bottom of the screen right now. Thanks very much for watching. I hope it's been useful. Do comment, give me some feedback if it has been useful, or if there's ways you think it could be better. Thanks very much for watching.